Today I want to read and react to the Week 8 AP Top 25 poll. And all that's coming up after the bumper.
Don't be cornering me. Hold up. Time. You gotta help me with that corner shit.
What's up, kinfolk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. Consider hitting the like and subscribe button because I upload a video every single day. It's always college football related, sports related. We have a good time. Today, I want to talk about the Week 8 Top 25 AP poll, react to it, talk about what I think. They probably didn't rank Arkansas, but we'll find out here in just a second. Clemson at number 1. I'm fine with this, even after, not covering the spread against Syracuse. If you're going to mail one in against Syracuse. Let Dabo Swinney talk about whether or not this ACC conference is the watered-down joke that many of us think it is. But I had this thought late last night after doing ESPN Radio with Brad Edwards, in that the way that I used to think about the Big Ten and how, it was really just one team, maybe two teams in the Lloyd Carr era, is the way that many of the younger kids are going to think about the ACC. It's just Clemson and a whole bunch of other teams that are just as good as the number 2 team. Like Wake Forest is just as capable of beating up on a UNC as Florida State is, and vice versa. Clemson, though, continues to show up in the college football playoff and acquit themselves. So it really doesn't matter that they play in the ACC. It matters that they are Clemson. Number 2, we got Alabama, who dispatched Tennessee for the 14th consecutive time. Nick Saban is undefeated against Tennessee as the head coach at Alabama. And I got this note from Brad Edwards. No team has beaten another team in the SEC, like no other SEC team has beaten another SEC team 14 straight times by at least 14 points in a row. That means that even Vanderbilt hasn't been beaten this badly, this often, this consecutively. And Jeremy Pruitt has the audacity to tell us that Tennessee is closing the gap with Alabama. Like hell. Even with Jalen Waddle out for the season, I still think that Alabama is a really great football team. And John Mechie had 7 catches for 151 yards to basically make that true. They don't rebuild, they just reload. Number 3, Ohio State, jumping from number 5 to number 3 with a demolition of Nebraska 52-17. Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson had outstanding days. I think Chris Olave is going to be okay and be ready for the Penn State game on primetime on ABC later this week. But the story is Justin Fields. 20 of 21, 276 yards, 2 tutties, 54 yards rushing. You find out who your running backs are here in a little bit. Maybe it's Steel Chambers, maybe it's Master Teague, maybe it's Trey Sermon. But there's a lot to clean up, and I think you got to feel good if you're Ohio State. Save the targeting penalties that you're picking up from a Nebraska defense that I don't think was headhunting, but certainly was coming for your head. Not in a good way. Rephrase that. They were not headhunting, though they were looking to stick shoulders into your chest, and changing your plane is one of the big issues with the targeting rule right now. I think intent should have something to do with it. Otherwise, we're just tossing kids for trying to play football. Number 4, we get Notre Dame, who really ran roughshod over Pittsburgh. Ian Book finally looked like a kind of dude that could throw for 300 yards, because he did. But Kyron Williams and that offensive line are where their bread is buttered. They also had some pretty good defense plays, but I'm not sold on Notre Dame, and I won't be sold on Notre Dame until or unless they beat Clemson next month. Number 5, Georgia. They get the bye week. We'll see if there's some changes at quarterback. I think there need to be. I think JT Daniels needs that job. Kirby Smart needs to have the same sort of confidence in JT Daniels that Dabo Swinney had in Trevor Lawrence when he went to him from Kelly Bryant, that Brian Kelly did when he went from Brandon Wimbush to Ian Book. Just make the change already. Number 6 is Oklahoma State, who gets a 24-21 win at home against Iowa State. Breece Hall running all day. Spencer Sanders threw 2 interceptions. I'm not sold on Oklahoma State. I just don't buy them, right? I don't buy them with a quarterback that is a turnover machine, knowing that you got a better quarterback on the bench who's a year younger. I get that you don't want to lose Spencer Sanders, and I get that you want to give him the opportunity to continue to be who he is, and you're continuing to try to tell everybody that he's running well with the ball as if that somehow makes you better. It's not Zach Robinson back there. As a matter of fact, Zach Robinson might have been a better... No, that's not true. Spencer Sanders is a better passer than Zach Robinson. I still think they should go with Shane Illingworth. I think that he gives them a better chance to win football games, but obviously they're undefeated, and they are really the Big 12's only hope at having a college football playoff contender this year, but they got to run the table to do it. They get Texas. I don't know that they're good enough to beat Texas, but we'll find out. Cincinnati at number 7, a resounding win against a Southern Methodist team that I know is good. And Desmond Ridder, 9 carries for that. Okay, all right, so that's what we're doing. And as long as Marcus Freeman is calling defense and Luke Fickell is the head coach, I'm going to give Cincinnati an opportunity to do this. It might just be Cincinnati and Memphis again in the American Championship. Texas A&M coming off the bye at number 8. Fine, we'll leave it there. Wisconsin moving up to number 9 after Graham Mertz shows up and establishes school records in his first start against Illinois. It is Illinois, but they look good, and he looked good. So we're going to expect Wisconsin to probably be there in the Big Ten Championship against an Ohio State if everything goes as it should, especially with Minnesota catching the loss from Michigan last night. Florida at number 10. We'll see if they can get past the COVID protocols. Number 11, BYU up from 12. They dismantled Texas State late last night. Zach Wilson is probably going to get an invitation to the Heisman ceremony, virtual if it is, but I'm not sure what to do with Brigham Young. Also, another interesting note, Brigham Young is not assured that New Year's 6 spot. They actually have to win it at large, which means they have to be voted into it. So that's going to be one thing that's interesting to watch because I'm loath to think that the Cincy or Memphis is going to give up that spot. I don't think it's going to happen, especially with Coastal Carolina continue to be undefeated in the Sun Belt looking like, they're decent. Number 12, we get Miami. Again, the only loss that they have is to Clemson, and who's not catching L's to Clemson this year? Number 13, Michigan. Somehow in this, they got 0-0 from Michigan. They went 1-0 last night. Number 13, Michigan. They had a really good, complete performance against Minnesota, who was down to starting linebacker and a number of other players that were unavailable for COVID, but Rashad Bateman had 9 catches for 101 yards. You had a running back to go for 140. You still got trounced on by Joe Milton and Jim Harbaugh. Maybe Michigan is coming together. It'd be nice to see the game feature 2 top 10 opponents at the end of the season. That'd be cool. Oregon doesn't start for another couple of weeks, but they're at number 14. North Carolina beats a ranked North Carolina State. They're able to run the ball and play defense. They're going to be okay. Kansas State at number 16, dismantled Kansas. Could be there at the end facing, I don't know, perhaps an Oklahoma State. We'll have to wait and see. But Kansas State still got some things to prove. Indiana jumps into the rankings after beating Penn State 36-35 in overtime. Michael Penix going for the length to get it out there. I enjoy it. And then Penn State dropping to number 18 behind Indiana, which is only right and fair. That's what I wanted to see. The AP voters got one right. Kudos to you, AP voters. I know that there's some people that don't think that Penn State should be ranked, but I think they should be ranked because I still think it's a good football team. Sean Clifford was actually pretty good. And they outgained Indiana in that game. They had the ball 40 minutes, and they still lost it in OT because Devin Ford just forgot to take a knee. My goodness. Number 19, Marshall is 5-0. Again, vying for that New Year's 6 spot. Coastal Carolina at 5-0. Number 20, vying for that New Year's 6 spot. USC in that Oregon boat. We'll see what they look like here in a couple of weeks. SMU, my goodness, they catch the L, but they'll be there. They'll be there playing in something like a cool bowl game. I don't think that this is a loss for SMU. I think SMU they got beat by a good football team. If they go with one loss throughout the season, that's a win, man. Iowa State at 3-2 at number 23. Oklahoma back in the rankings at number 24. After a workmanlike performance against Texas Christian in which Spencer Rattler had 332 yards passing on 13 completions. Marvin Mims turned it into Marvin's room. Outstanding wide receiver, and then you got good defensive play for the first time, in back-to-back outings. I don't want to say back-to-back outings because I'm going to include what they did in overtime as, a separate game against Texas. And then number 25, Boise State at 1-0. Also receiving votes, Memphis at 105, Liberty at 85, Tulsa at 80. Got a really good win against USF, but they would have loved to have that Cincinnati game, which got canceled. That was homecoming. That sucks. Louisiana Lafayette gets 50, Army gets 44, Auburn gets 41, Minnesota gets 40, Utah gets 36, Northwestern gets 20, Washington gets 15, Arkansas gets 15, Purdue gets 8, Arizona State gets 7, Appalachian State gets 6, California gets 4, Boston College gets 2, Texas gets 2, and San Diego State gets 1. All right. No LSU. Deuces.